in the day. But anyway, all that wonderful energy. Thanks for being here, everyone. Go and put in the chat where you're streaming from right now, because we are going to be closing the chat while David is talking. And for those of you that have guests here, I just want to introduce David. So David has, oh gosh, we've known each other for 20, since 2005, something like that.
Yep,
near
20
the
years.
Yeah, near the beginning of this whole LifeWave journey. And I've gotten to know you over time, and I always thought to myself, wow, this man has a heart. And I think that's probably why I'm still here, David, because I'm really into integrity. It's really important to me. And of course, as a medical doctor, biochemist, an acupuncturist, the clinical stuff is really important to me. I know it isn't for everyone, but it's really important to me. And I love how you continue innovating. And I always tell people, they're like, oh, is this like this other water machine? I'm like, no. You don't understand. David never makes something that's a duplicate of anything else. He's got so many patents. I've lost track of how many patents you have.
Me too.
And and this machine delivers light. So we're going to talk about that this evening. So I'm super excited, and thank you. I know it's late where you are as well. So thank you so much for being here and spending your time with us.
No, it's great to be here. And, I'm really looking forward to this, because actually this presentation that I'm going to give tonight is a brand new one. So as I've been speaking about X2O over the past 2 years now, I've been talking about the discovery. So the discovery process was looking towards species that never age, like lobsters, and trying to understand what was the mechanism using light to control the biochemistry. So what I found in lobsters is that there was a specific code with these light emissions, and that code could also be found in the very first sentence of the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So, but of course, we have a movie about that now, so we're not going to get into that today. But I realized what I hadn't done up to this point is actually talk about how do we infuse light into water. This seems like an impossibility. What does this process look like? And the benefit, of course, is that if we can release light inside of the body, we can reach every cell and reach a level of health, wellness, youth, regeneration that might not otherwise be possible. So for 20 years, we've had patches for stimulating the skin with light to produce all these wonderful biochemical effects. But now we have a way to deliver light directly inside the body for turning on mitochondrial function and other things. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing PowerPoint so we can get into this.
All right, sounds good.
There's going to be a little bit of science and physics here. I promise I won't go too deep into this, just enough to whet your appetite and give you a taste, and then we'll move on to some questions. But I think it makes sense to share this information. Okay. All right, so of course we're talking about X2O, our water system, and it's the first and the only technology on the market that will process water and infuse that water with light. And we're going to have benefits that have never been available before. That's what we found in our testing. So the official claims that we make about X2O is that it's going to improve hydration, and that mechanism will be easy to understand as we get into this. It's going to improve energy production in the body. You'll notice that when you drink it, the taste is very, very smooth. There's antioxidant properties. That means we're going to get an anti-inflammatory effect from drinking this water. And of course, we have two separate stages of filtration. So you can put bottled water into this, tap water, spring water, and the two-stage filtration system is going to remove the forever chemicals, chlorine, heavy metals, and we have a second carbon block, which will also infuse hydrogen into the water. But the main benefits that we're focusing on is how we get light into the body through the water and what benefits that's going to have. Now, this also works very, very well with X39 or any of our other patches, as well as Celergize. So one thing that our customer service people in Utah have been doing, they did a demonstration where they took regular tap water and they took X2O water and they put a scoop of Celergize in both, and they showed how that with X2O, the nutrients dissolved very, very easily. So this is the same. X2O actually acts like a delivery system for the nutrients in Celergize morning or Celergize evening. So you can think of the X2O system is composed of three parts. We're going to be focusing in on the light infusion technology tonight, but of course we have this two-stage filtration system and the hydrogen enrichment. Okay, so, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So light has been around a very long time, since the beginning of creation. And what's amazing about this is not only do we find light in our ambient environment, we've grown up in light over the past couple of thousand years, and our bodies contain light. So we use biophotons as a signaling mechanism and a communication system. There's even the acupuncture meridians, which are essentially fiber optic cables. So our body is designed to utilize and process light for our very existence. But do we really know what light actually is? You probably think, well, yeah, sure. I was taught in school that light is an electromagnetic wave, even has a wavelength. So, should we be even asking this question? But we will. We're going to take a look at it for a specific reason. And then if we know or don't know what light is, how can we infuse it into water? Why could that at all be possible? So we're going to take a look and go back several hundred years and start with Isaac Newton. Of course, one of the greatest scientists that ever lived. He gave us the gravitational constant. And Newton believed that light was composed of particles. And he came to this conclusion by looking at the way that light moved in straight lines. And his experiments seemed to support this idea. But around the same time, there were other scientists that thought that light was a wave. And this was because of how light would reflect off of surfaces or refract, bend around surfaces. But because Newton had so much influence, generally for this period of time, it was accepted that light was particle. Then we have in 1801, the famous double slit experiment. So famous, it's still talked about today, because if we take a source of photons, and we can even dial this down to a single photon, but if we take photons and we send light through two different slits, we'll see that we'll get a pattern that will form where we have a light band and a dark band. And what this means is that if light is a wave, the waves are either adding onto one another or their waves are canceling one another out. And that's how we get these two different bands. So this experiment seemed to prove that light was a wave, not a particle. Then we have Maxwell that comes along, and Maxwell gave us four fundamental equations that we still use today. And Maxwell developed a relationship between electricity and magnetism. So Maxwell was wondering, how is it possible that an electromagnetic wave can propagate? And he explained it with these equations. And what he found when he ran the calculations was that electromagnetic waves move at the speed of light. So he reasoned that light must be an electromagnetic wave. So in the 1860s, it seems like it was proven that light was an electromagnetic wave. Then Albert Einstein comes along. You know, we often think that Einstein won the Nobel Prize for relativity, but that's actually not the case. He won the Nobel Prize for his work on the photoelectric effect. And the reason why this was important was because experiments would show that if you hit light, or sorry, if you hit a metallic surface, let's say like a piece of copper, with a red light, that you would not get any electrons coming off of that metal. Whereas if you put a blue light onto that metal surface, electrons come off. And Einstein reasoned that this must be because light is a particle and that it would be composed of packets of energy. And these packets of energy were later named photons. So you can see the problem is that, well, wait a minute. I thought we proved in the 1860s that light was a wave. So what's the story here? Is light a particle or a wave? Because we have experiments that seem to prove that it's both. Very, very confusing. And here is one of the takeaways from this, by the way, is that, and I'll come back to this a little bit later. Imagine for a moment that for most of human history, some of the greatest scientific minds of their age did not know what light is. Yet it's something that we exist in every day. It's something that our body depends on in order to function. So when people are skeptical about things like the patches, which is very infrequent today, Karen will tell you, it was very common when we first got started. But you do 80 clinical studies and the skepticism seems to go away. But we should be reminded that for most of history, people didn't even know what light was. Then between 1940s, 1953, you have Richard Feynman and three other physicists, and they create what's called quantum electrodynamics. And Feynman shared a Nobel Prize for this discovery. And this was very foundational. And essentially, quantum electrodynamics states that light or photons are quantum objects. So we have to do away with this idea that we think of light as moving like a wave or light as being a particle and moving like a little ball through space. It's that light can take on the behavior of a wave. It can manifest itself as a wave, or it can manifest itself as a particle, but it's actually neither. A better way to describe light, it's that it's an amplitude of an excitation of the electromagnetic field of space that it propagates through. So light can actually take any direction. The way that it's calculated in QED is that it's a summation of probabilities. So light could actually appear anywhere. It's that it usually shows up in straight lines, which is supports classical physics. No, that might be a little bit too much, but this is just to say that inside of our bodies, our body runs on quantum energy or quantum electrodynamics. It's not very straightforward at all. But what does this have to do with X2O? Well, it's because light functions as a quantum object that if we have the correct processing technique, we can store those electromagnetic oscillations in the dipoles of water molecules. So the first work that was actually done in this area was Dr. Luc Montagnier. And Dr. Montagnier won a Nobel Prize. He was a co-discoverer of HIV, but he very quickly moved in 2009 to looking at homeopathy. So, of course, with homeopathy, let's say because we're getting into allergy season now, we use that as an example. You take something like pollen and tree pollen, you put it in water and you success it, you send a shock wave through the water, and then you pour out the water, you add more, so you dilute it, and you go through this 30,000 times, a million times, and until there is no trace of the pollen, the physical pollen left in the water. What you have instead is the signal of that pollen, that it gets imprinted into the water. And so Dr. Montaigne wanted to come up with a scientific explanation for homeopathy, which he was heavily criticized for. But he reasoned that if we used quantum electrodynamics as a scaffolding, this could explain how we could develop coherent domains within liquid water that would be capable of storing information. So what does this look like? We think of water. Water is H2O, and it would be properly called a dipole. So we utilize dipoles all the time in radio transmission and in receiving things like radio signals. And so what that means is a dipole is perfectly suited for transmitting or receiving an electromagnetic wave. So light and liquid water can interact with electromagnetic fields. Under the right conditions, such as what is produced inside of the X2O machine, we can form coherent domains and trap electromagnetic oscillation. So what this means is that there will become an area or a cavity between water molecules where we can store information and where we can store electromagnetic fields. And of course, at that point, the photon is manifesting itself as an electromagnetic field. So in fact, we trap a photon and its oscillation in the dipoles that are present in water. So this would also explain many people's questions of, when I dispense the water, how long does it remain stable? So if you think that you have a self-oscillating system, if we have anything interfere with that, that's going to start to break the system down. So in other words, if we expose X2O to intense light, that will start to interfere with the oscillations that are created by the machine. If we expose it to microwaves, that'll break it down. If we increase the temperature of the water, that will break it down. So this is why we recommend that when you dispense the water into a glass, that you should drink it right away, although it will stay stable for several hours under the right conditions. Okay, I think I've covered that. So what happens when we drink this water? Well, we've done 6 different clinical studies at this point. We've done a variety of different types of bioelectrical tests, blood tests, urine tests. We'll connect people up to EEG, heart rate variability, BioWell, BioPulsar. And what's remarkable is that for the majority of the population, we have somebody connected to an EEG. 15 seconds after drinking the water, we can see measurable changes. And that's in 100% of the people that we test. Some people, it takes 2 minutes before we see a measurable change. But most people are in the realm of about 15 seconds or so.
Wow.
But it is 100% of the population. Really key with this is we got very excited, of course, when we saw the changes in the bioelectrical activity, but what was it going to do to the biochemistry? And this began to show us that there were some very significant biochemical changes occurring. And so we started to see that cognition was improving. People drink X2O and they feel a rush of energy up to their heads. And one of the phenomena that we measured this with Doppler perfusion imaging, that circulation was in fact improving. But when we saw how amino acids were being utilized, amino acids like serine, which compose phosphatidylserine, are known to improve cognition. We also saw glycine metabolism go up. So of course, glycine is used to form glutathione. copper peptide. And so we saw glycine metabolism go up. We saw valine, which is one of the branched chain amino acids involved in recovery. Metabolism of valine went up. Proline, which is involved in collagen production, that increased. Alanine, leucine, and the KP pathway. One thing, of course, that's very big in longevity circles today is NAD, because NAD is known to reset at least two of the sirtuin genes, which are responsible for longevity back to a more youthful state, and responsible for mitochondrial function. The KP pathway is activated. We also saw this in our in vitro work, in addition to the urine testing, that X2O was increasing production of NAD in the fibroblasts. So we would expect then that people that drink X2O would see an improvement in the quality of their skin. And many, many other benefits that last somewhere between 3 and 5 hours after consuming X2O. So this might mean that you may not want to drink a glass of X2O at 5 or 6 o'clock at night because it may end up keeping you awake. So, to sum this all up, the legal claims that we make, I realize there's a lot of testimonials that are starting to go around, which is great. But what we're going to say is because the X2O water has a structure to it, it's not structured water per se, but it has a structure because of the way that it's trapping light. This gives the product very smooth taste, and that smooth taste comes from the coherence of the water, and that means it's going to penetrate the cells and improve hydration. The water takes on properties like an antioxidant. The results are extremely rapid. This will support increases in mitochondrial energy, as well as improving the flow of energy through the body, improving circulation, supporting metabolism, nutrient absorption, oxygen uptake, and of course this goes along very, very well with our patches. So with that, hopefully that didn't get too technical. I tried to stick to the basics and be happy to take any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. Well, I'm pretty nerdy, so I was all like, woo, this is cool.
No, we're both,
maybe half the room was like,
yep.
Yes, this is cool. Yeah, that's really neat. Well, one of the things that is very, very common for people to ask is like, okay, well, there's a lot of water machines out there. Now, you've clearly taught us the science behind this, and this is very interesting. I've never heard of this, the water dipoles holding this coherent field. It makes so much sense now that you say this is what it does. So we know that other water machines don't do that, and they do like the filtering and that kind of thing. But like, how do we explain that? How do we say the benefits without doing a science presentation for our people who are selling to?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. We are going to have this information on our product page. So for those people that are interested in learning a little bit about the science behind X2O, they'll be able to go to the X2O product page and get this information in a condensed form. But I would say, quite simply, that the other machines that are on the market beyond filtration are producing things like alkaline water, and that's all fine. But when we think about how does the human body actually work, well, it uses light for signaling. So it's the electrical fields, the magnetic fields, the light in the body that controls the biochemistry. So the objective is to upregulate mitochondrial function so we can turn on systems that start to decline with age. And we have to do that with light. So we're the only water technology in the world that has that.
Okay.
So this is light infused water.
Right. I noticed the TM after the word light infused. I was like,
yes.
I can't believe you TM that. But anyway, Smart, very smart. Now, some people have said, okay, well, I have my friend. He knows water machines, and he's got this little hydrogen meter, and are we supposed to expect to see X amount of hydrogen in this water versus, say, another machine that is a hydrogen water machine?
Not so much, actually, because the benefit, we add hydrogen to the water, but this is to form these coherent domains. So sometimes you do have a little bit of hydrogen in the water, but we utilize it as part of the process to form coherent domains. So the major benefit of this system, of course, it will filter water, but the major benefit to it is that you're taking in wavelengths of light that are associated with longevity. I've done other presentations on that and can get into that, another time, but we're using wavelengths of light such as 630 nanometer, 550 nanometer, 710 nanometer, and so forth. And these wavelengths are known to turn on the mitochondria in a very specific way.
Ah, I see. I see. So if I were just to summarize, kind of in layman's terms, what the benefits are, if we go back and say, well, how does the body actually work? Like how does the body function at the highest levels? Eventually we get down to energy, we get down to light. Light signals the body to do things. And Bruce Lipton, who I'm a big fan of, talked about epigenetics, and he said to me that the energy, the frequency, the light is actually faster to signal the body than an actual biochemical substance or food or something like that, which is right. Very, very cool. So if you can deliver light directly through this water, and it can penetrate into the cell so well because it's nice and coherent, and the most of the tap water we have is crappy, so the body says, this is toxic, I'm not absorbing this, right? But now the cells are like, ooh, this looks good, and the water actually goes in, and now the light's delivered directly into the cells. That can make a huge difference in immediacy. Like, that's what you're talking about, 15 seconds, 2 minutes at the most, right?
That's
2
right.
minutes.
And here's another thing to think about too, is you asked me a great question. What are some of the differences between this and other products on the market? Well, let's look at what happens as people age. We go from a state of coherence to a state of chaos, essentially. So when we get to about age 25, the fibroblasts start to slow down in their ability to produce collagen. So as people get to 60, 70, 80 years old, there's less water because we're making less collagen, and the actual structure of the cell has degraded significantly. So that means we're going from a state where the cell was in coherence to now disharmony. Well, what's going to happen when we introduce coherent water back into the cell? It's like getting an influx of young, healthy water into the cell.
Oh.
So we're bringing the cells from a state of where they're aging, disharmony, back to a more youthful state.
Okay, yes, that's clear. Thank you. I noticed for me that I felt I'm very energy sensitive, but other people felt it as well, apparently. But for me, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to feel. So with the first dose or treatment, I felt like energy in here, like in this area. And I felt like something was like, almost like there was more connections, like heart, head, heart, brain. It's hard to explain. And then I just was very productive. I didn't sit down for a while. I was just like, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. And so I was just walking around the house doing things. And James said, my husband, of course, he said that in the morning when he drank his first drink, he was very alert. And normally, even though he gets up really early to read for hours, gets up at 3:34 or something like that, it takes him like usually half an hour to like really wake up to understand what he's reading. Like, he'll have his mushroom coffee, right? When he had the water from the X2O machine, within minutes he was like reading and comprehending everything. Like, he was just on. And in fact, he said to me, when I drank my coffee, I think it was too much. I'm going to have to cut back on the coffee. It didn't feel right. He really liked that. So is this what you're talking about in terms of the cognition or this energy up here in the nervous system getting balanced?
So when we look at energy demands within the human body, human brain uses a tremendous amount of energy. So one of the new things that is out now that people are doing is taking 15-20 grams of creatine per day, and that's because of the benefits for cognition. So this is a way to transport energy to the brain is through water and through the energy in water.
Ah, I see. So it's not just the brain, it's like the whole body, right?
Yeah, the whole body. But and that's why though when of course our brains are designed to process light and visual cortex. So we're shuttling photons directly from the eye to the visual cortex. So it makes sense that when you drink this water, we're going to get a rush of energy up into the brain.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Now I noticed that you, well, thank you for gifting me all these wonderful gifts with the water machine. There's glass. So is there a reason that we're using glass versus a metal water bottle or a plastic water bottle?
Yeah, there's still a lot to be discovered. We think that glass is probably the best.
Okay.
But it depends on a number of different factors. But I would definitely recommend to dispense the water into glass or ceramic mug, and then drink it right away for the best effect. Some people want to dispense it and take it with them, and that's okay.
Okay. And what about the Celergize? If we use it with the Celergize AM in the morning, I'm a little reticent to use it in the evening now, but in the morning, what about if they stir it with a metal spoon? Like, will that mess up the coherence because it's metal?
I don't think so. We certainly haven't seen that. I'll mix Celergize and X2O with a metal spoon. I don't think about it really because it's not in there very long, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Some of the team members were asking, is there some sort of documentation about maybe what people call forever chemicals being filtered out? Is that a thing with the X2O machine?
It is a thing. So I'll explain a little bit about this. We have gone through our trials and tribulations with X2O over the past couple of years. It has been a monumental task. I think it seemed like it was going to be simpler than it turned out to be. We had an enormous amount of challenges. One of the things that came up was on the filter. So from the very beginning, I had a suspicion about what we might be charging for this equipment because of some of the components that we needed to use. So I thought, okay, if we're going to be charging somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000, we need to have the best quality filter system. And so we went and started to work with a number of different vendors. So we finally found a vendor. They had NSF certification. They had a filter that was perfect for X2O that would get rid of the forever chemicals, heavy metals, pesticides. It did it all. We said, great. So we got that one. And as we went to integrate it into the machine, the engineers that we were working with had to change the housing on the filter to accommodate it into X2O. And when we did that, we had to go back and get NSF certification. We lost the certification because we changed the housing. So the filter media and everything else inside is exactly the same, but we changed the housing. So we're waiting for that testing to finish up. So the filter does remove all those things and we will get NSF. We're going through the governmental process.
Oh, I see. Yeah, people were looking for paperwork, so that totally makes sense.
Yep.
That is a lot of paperwork. Okay. Here's a question about filtration. People say reverse osmosis is really great for taking chemicals and things out of the water, but you have to add minerals back because if you don't, then it's not really good water for you. Does that make sense?
So, yes. So I would say if we looked at RO water or distilled water, there's pros and cons to it, but many people in the natural health community believe that if you drink distilled water, that it will pull minerals from the body, and this is probably true. That could have its uses in certain cases, but I would say, generally speaking, may not be the best idea to drink RO or distilled water on a regular basis. Now, that said, in our experiments, what we found was that the water that by far created the highest coherence was deuterium depleted water or light water. So, for those people that are not familiar with it, tap water or spring water will contain about 120 parts per million of deuterium. And when we drink this water, the deuterium will slow down the engine that is inside the electron transport chain. So we actually have inside of our mitochondria a motor, and that motor spins at about 9,000 RPM. It's hard to imagine, but that's the way that it works. And it acts as a hydrogen pump. And when you introduce deuterium, the deuterium will slow down that molecular machinery. So when you remove the deuterium, now you actually speed up the motor in the mitochondria, and it's found that people live much longer, maybe 110, 120 years old, and they stay youthful in the process. This was discovered, it was naturally found in Russia. So it's very, very expensive. Maybe it's $30, $60 a bottle for deuterium depleted water. But we ran some tests and we found that when you take out the deuterium, the number of coherent domains in the water goes up dramatically. So that's even has a number of benefits. At UCLA, they use deuterium depleted water to treat cancer. And the mechanism is interesting. I can't connect the dots on this, but the mechanism is interesting because the reason why it works is that it allows the cells to charge up with energy because the mitochondria is functioning better. And the membrane charge on a cancer cell is about half of that of a healthy cell. So what's been found is you restore the cells in the body to a normal electrical charge, and the cancer cells die.
Oh, that's interesting. As opposed to the cancer cells get healthier because their electrical charge is better. It's the opposite.
It's exactly the opposite, is that you strengthen the integrity of the cell when you ramp up mitochondrial function, and this acts as a way of neutralizing the effects of the cancer.
Okay. And so is there, in our X2O machine, is there any concern about not having enough minerals or taking minerals out of the water? It certainly doesn't taste that way. I can taste the difference.
Yeah, so the system is not removing any minerals depending on what the starting water is. So if people use tap water or spring water, the filters are going to remove chlorine, heavy metals, pesticides, the forever chemicals, PFOS, PFOAs, but it's not going to remove the minerals. It's not an RO system.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying this. Is this water safe for children, pregnant women, animals, plants?
It's water. So, so as far as we know that it is, I'd say if we were going to have, we have many animals that love X2O. At least a couple of dogs I know enjoy it. But I think I would say for people that have cancer and are going through chemotherapy, they will experience a very rapid detox after they take X2O. So I would say if someone's just coming off of chemo, that maybe they start with half a glass and watch for the detox.
Okay. And how is it best to use this water in terms of dosing, meaning, how many times a day, and when should they stop?
So we're not legally allowed to refer to this water as dosing.
Oops.
Interesting. No, no, it's not. The question was a good question. So my response, I have to point this out. So if we refer to this as, well, you can have, 4 glasses per day, that's dosing. And then the FDA or the FTC look at that as, well, is this a drug, or, exactly
Right.
what is it, right? So what I can say is that when we've done our clinical studies, it's all based on people consuming 1 glass of water. So I spoke with a gentleman last night. He didn't give me permission to share his testimonial, so I'll do it anonymously. But he said he was drinking 6 glasses of X2O per day, and that he lost 20 pounds over a period of time for doing that. And he's not a youthful man, which is what made this interesting. So, that's not an effect that we claim. Was that just because he was getting better hydration or something else going on? I think that would be interesting to explore. But this is just to say that, what would be the appropriate dose? How many glasses per day? 1, 2 glasses is probably fine. If people want to try more than that, they certainly can. They should judge for themselves, and they should say, well, is this keeping me up at night?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about using discernment and intuition and trial and error. Like you said, it is water, so it's not like a drug, which could be dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because I muscle tested myself and James, and I muscle tested a finite number for him, how many glasses per day, and for me, I got infinite.
Okay. Wow.
But
How
I'm like,
cool.
but okay. So normally, David, I do drink salt water all the time. This is
Okay.
kind of weird, but I need to. It's something to do with being an energy worker, and so I will use your water with salt water, and then alone and with Celergize. I think
Okay.
that's a great combo.
Very cool.
So I think you mentioned already the synergy of the X39 and X2 on Celergize. We do have some questions about Celergize, if that's okay to ask.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So we have some sensitive folks, including some of the people in my community who are quite sensitive and allergic to various different things. So they wanted to know a couple things. So what is the xanthan gum and the ingredients for? Is one of them. Where do you source the stevia, and what are natural flavors? Like, what is the source of that?
Yeah. Some of these questions I'm not going to have the answers to, because this goes back quite a while when we developed it. So I'm not sure I'm not gonna recall on all of that. So on the xanthan gum, that's essentially a binder that holds. We have to include binders in the mixing process, but we don't include very, very much. Stevia, I don't know what the source is offhand. Yeah.
Okay,
And we have had people that have requested that we have something different than stevia, such as monk fruit, where we've looked into that.
Okay, and it doesn't work? It doesn't taste good?
No, we just decided to go with stevia instead of sugar. Most people tolerate it, and we found the flavor profile on it was, overall was pretty good. But we have had some requests to have sweeteners other than stevia. So I just bring that up. That's something that we might look at.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing too, I feel is that if the whole body is working better, and is receiving the light, getting the signals, the mitochondria are more efficient. Sometimes these things that did bother us in the past with other supplements may not bother us.
Yep.
Especially in combination with the water. And this is like me with my medical acupuncturist hat on saying this. So not making a claim, just an observation.
Fair enough.
Yes. Okay. Let's see here. Yes. So we want to know a couple of last few questions before we go to Q&A. I think we might have time for that. What kind of warranty does this machine carry if somebody purchases it?
Yeah, we had a standard warranty, and then I think we're also offering an extended warranty on X2O, as recall. But I think the standard warranty was 2 years. I think that's what we went with.
Oh, it's fantastic. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I think that's correct.
And what about the cost of the machine? And then for those who are brand partners who wish to sell this in the future to customers, like, is there a commission, or what would that commission be?
Well, you know, I'm the science guy, so these are all things I usually don't.
Well, I gave you the questions ahead of time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, you know, of course, for customers, we're not offering them to customers yet,
Right.
but they will around. I think it's going to be latest by June 1st. We'll be offering them to customers, and that'll be for just under $6,000. And then, of course, for brand partners and preferred customers, $5,500.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and we decided to, by the way, if someone happened not to notice that the BV on X2O is 2,000. However, we had a mistake that went into the system. I think it was divine intervention, in that it was supposed to be divided in 25% of the volume the first week that it was purchased, and then 75% of the volume the second week. Well, our IT department put all 2,000 BV in on the first week, and we thought, okay, maybe this is an opportunity. The good Lord's trying to tell us something here. So we decided to up the BV to 3,500 BV for the first 3,000 machines that we're selling. So it's going to be 3,500 BV on the first 3,000 machines instead of the 2,000 BV. So that's going to result in an extra 4.5 million BV that's going through our system. So as a result, commissions this week were up more than 50% as compared to last week. So we have a lot of happy people.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you know that stuff.
Some stuff. I'm trying to stay in the lab. I'm trying to stay away from much of the business stuff and focus.
It's hard, right? As a business owner, especially a business this big, you can't be in charge of everything. It's impossible.
No.
It'll probably drive you crazy. So you got to be in your zone of genius. We totally get that. So thank you for answering those questions.
Sure thing.
Now, you are the most popular person, obviously, in LifeWave. Some of the team members were asking, will you be recording a new updated X2O video? Will you have an updated X39 video with maybe stats from the recent study? They're like so anxious to have video with you on it.
Yeah, I think we've talked about doing some updated videos this year. We're going to be making some new product claims. We're doing a webinar. I think it's May 19th. We're going to do a webinar on X39 and Celergized Morning, because we're expanding the claims that we're making. I'll give you a spoiler.
Okay.
As you know, for many years we made stem cell claims, and then because of changes in regulatory, we weren't allowed to make the stem cell claims. But now we found a way to make claims about mitochondrial function, inflammaging, telomere lengthening, and then protection of the mechanisms of DNA repair. So those are going to be all new marketing claims that we have around the X39 Celergized Morning system. Wow,
you can actually claim all that. That is so exciting.
Well, you'll hear the story on May 19th.
Okay, That's fantastic. All right, so we have a few more minutes here. We have some questions from the folks live on the call. So Charlie is asking, okay, so how do we know that the water holds the electromagnetic oscillations in the pockets between the dipoles? Is this a theory, or how can you prove that?
Yeah, so I would say it this way. We put the water through processing, and we run a number of tests on it. A very simple test that we run is that we freeze it, and we do that under time lapse. So we have a freezer with a glass front, we have a time lapse camera, and we look at how the water crystallizes. How does it freeze? So when we freeze this water, I've shown some pictures, of course, in the past.
I love those pictures.
I love the pictures. What's interesting is that if you process the water with this light system, over a period of about 5 hours, the water becomes crystal clear, like glass. So the structure continues to change and change, become more and more coherent until it's absolutely clear, like glass. So this is a hypothesis that I have as to what the mechanism of action is.
Okay.
However, what we've shown is that the properties of the water change, and we've also shown, most importantly, through 5 studies now, and some others are coming, that when you drink this water, it has a very novel physiological effects. It will upregulate synthesis of specific amino acids. So that would indicate that there has to be some type of signaling going on to trigger an improvement in metabolism of different amino acids. Heart rate variability improves, EEG improves, dark field microscopy, the character of the blood improves. It doesn't clump together. Improvement in circulation. And improvement, of course, in the flow of energy through the meridians. So we've seen through all these different measures that it has a very powerful physiological effect.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, here's a question. When will it be sold in Canada, perhaps?
Yeah, so right now, Canada will be on the list, but the next regions that we're going to deploy would be in Europe, Japan, and South Korea. So we're going through regulatory, we're building infrastructure and support systems. Put this in perspective, because of the size of X2O, 330 machines will fit in one truck. So a 40-foot truck will hold 330 machines. So when we sold out on Friday, we sold about 1,000 machines last week. Yeah, we sold 1,000 machines. We had a week before last. That was 3 truckloads of X2O machines. So when we're looking at how do we expand into different markets, developing the infrastructure is important.
Yeah, infrastructure. And does that include, like, we're talking about the cellar jives. We have X39 in Canada, but what about the supplements?
Yeah, supplements, that also depends on the region. So US is certainly the most liberal when it comes to supplements. Europe is not so bad, but when we get into some countries like Japan and South Korea, Taiwan especially, very, very difficult. Many of the vitamins and minerals that we can get easily here in the United States, very difficult to get in some markets.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so
it's like a time thing. We have to wait for regulatory approval. Or?
Yeah, well, part of it is regulatory approval. Other part is we have to reformulate. So the part of the process and the struggle is that we can't produce just one formula. So we go into a market like Japan and they say, well, you can't have Cyantox, or you can't have copper or magnesium. Or, it can be, well, you can't have magnesium bisglycinate. You have to have magnesium oxide. These kind of problems. Yeah, I know.
I'm laughing.
Crazy.
Sorry.
It's crazy.
Okay, wow. Yeah. I had no idea. Okay, well, thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
Christina has a good question here. Is there a filter that needs to be changed, and how often?
Yeah, the filters need to be changed, let's say once every 6 months or so. It depends on usage. So the machine keeps track of how much water is going through the filters, so you don't have to memorize this. The LED panel on the machine will tell you when you need to replace those filters.
Okay, and are those available already for purchase, or it has 6 months?
We don't have them in inventory now. They will be in about 3 months, I think, or so.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Is there a place where we can find X2O water clinical trials in our back office?
There should be some that are posted there now, and we have a few more coming.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. We answered that one. Oh, how does X2O affect fasting? That's interesting question. Have you tried it with fasting?
Well, I normally do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I like to get into, a 6 hour eating window. On travel days, it's
Right.
impossible. But yeah, during a normal work day, I try to be in about a 6 hour eating window or so. But, we don't have any studies that would say that if you're fasting, you're going to lose more body fat or lose more weight when you consume X2O. So it would be an interesting study, but we don't have any data on that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. James just really started doing this fasting thing, and he's starting to eat at 12 noon and finishing at 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He would get a pretty good boost in growth hormone and testosterone from doing that. It's a
I like to hear that. Yeah.
good plan. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Anna says, I'd love to get this machine for my country club and, and perhaps even like sell the water. What would you charge even if that's allowed? We're not really sure if that's allowed. So she's asking, is it allowed and can we sell the water if I own the machine and I'm offering it to the country club?
No, because there would be, so you can't take the machine and start making bottled water to sell because there's regulations around that in the US. Um, I know that many doctors that have purchased X2O, they put it in their clinics and then they give people a glass of water to drink, let's say before chiropractic therapy or acupuncture. And of course, that's totally fine.
Okay, okay, yeah, because somebody else asked about clinical, right? If they
Yeah,
have a clinical office, they want to offer
sure.
the water. Okay, great,
Yeah,
thank you. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Lynn says, "Oh, sorry, it wasn't xanthan gum; it was silicon dioxide I was talking about."
that's a flow agent. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So she apologized for that. And yeah, I think that's all we have time for, folks. Um, David, it's been fantastic having you on the call. Thank you. I know it's late where you are, so thank you
That's
so
okay. It's
much for
great
being
being here.
here. Yeah, love the science, love that nerdy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's been a great opportunity. Thank you for letting me be here with your team.
Oh, our pleasure. And remember, for if you're a guest here and you're very interested in the machine, just go back to the person that invited you to this webinar and get the information you need and get you started, perhaps as a brand partner, and you can order your X2O machine or be on the waiting list. All right. And thanks to all my co-hosts in the background there, Gretchen, Renata, Ta, and Leslie, and everybody. Anna, good night. Thank you, David.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Night. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.